Kuzambala, this is Bhutan This Week. I'm Junizuk Selden. Our main stories this week. His Holiness the J. Kempo inaugurates Leshe Junior Buddhist College in Punakha. More than half of the total capital budget remains underutilized for current fiscal year. An opposition leader recommends government revisit rules concerning Class 10 and 12 repeaters. His Holiness the J. Kempo inaugurated Leshe Junior Buddhist College in Punakha on 14th May. As a college, it will now teach the monks from 1st till the 7th Zindra or grade. The college was earlier a Buddhist school that taught monks only till 4th Zindra.
Leshe Junior Buddhist College is located above the Punakha zone. The institute was founded in 2002 by the former Drabilebe of Junrasa, late Kilegetse. About 50 monks were enrolled that year. So far, more than 500 monks have graduated from the institute to upgrade their qualification in other institutes across the country. Henceforth, the monks can continue their schooling in the same institute. Furthermore, this will address the shortage of monks while performing important religious events at the zone.
다투순수 보호ችን 공개 중급병을 찬양을 하다니 고갑남서 미빌라 가집에서 오신 나 롱아게 주님이 롱아이 난클로 가dim치라 따더라비로 대중 숨지대실에 게디 때로 코로 파때 कुछ bomde bom pena ngache gemi onchelo lami onchelo shabdu kuchelo tendelo tela ani dusu tamdar 코로 파 jamchi lamesubla.
The college currently has about 100 monks. However, the number is expected to increase in the coming years. His Holiness the J. Kempo also appointed 2 new lams, 1 principal and 2 vice principals. 44-year-old Kiledendra Pumwandi has been appointed as the principal of Leshe Junior Buddhist College. Sonam Gelton is the new vice principal of the college. Prior to the current appointment, he served as a senior teacher in the college. The new principal of the Rinchaling Shedra in Wangde is 35-year-old Kezangdawa. Meanwhile, 32-year-old Puptsering from Punakha has been appointed as the new lam of Gurgalhaka in Paro. 57-year-old Namgirinchen from Paro is also appointed as a new lam. For Changadoji in Punakha, this is Sangeet Shizong for PBS News.
The Renew office building in Thimphu has been renovated to an energy-efficient building. It is now insulated and is powered by solar energy. This is expected to help reduce energy consumption. Her Majesty the Queen Mother Sangye Chodron Wangchuk and Her Royal Highness Princess Iphelma Chodron Wangchuk graced the inauguration of the building on 14th May.
Aside from the new look that it has today, the structure is insulated and has double-glazed windows. The newly renovated building is expected to reduce 40% energy consumption in a year.
When you look at the Bhutanese buildings, there is a lot of construction principles that waste energy. The single glass windows, for example, that's horrible. And what we want to do, of course, is save energy. Because in winter times, as we heard, Bhutan is importing energy from India, which is probably done by coal.
He said the old building on an average consumed 45,000 kilowatt-hour per year.
Really, the electricity cost is really high for us. So like CSOs like us, I think it's really going to benefit. It has actually changed the environment of our office. It's become warm. And we are also free from a noise pollution, to some extent. And then if we use a heater, our room gets warmer faster, and the retention is good.
Bhutan's domestic energy consumption has been rapidly increasing every year. As per the Department of Renewable Energy, the consumption peaked in January this year to 490 megawatt, which is higher than the domestic generation. During winter, the country generates only about 414 megawatt of electricity.
Building sector in Bhutan actually consumes around 42% of the overall energy, and if you can do energy efficiency interventions in the building, you can have a thermal comfort of the building with minimal amount of energy input. If one building does that and the next building does that, at a very macro level, if we talk about building sector, industry sector and transport sector, then you are actually saving around, by our calculation, around 155 gigawatt hours of energy annually.
The project was completed by the Project for Rural Development, Prudent, at the cost of more than 18 million itam. Samtendolkar, BBS News.
The Parliament will once again deliberate the Anti-Corruption Amendment Bill in the upcoming session of the Parliament. It is among the 3 disputed bills that the Parliament will present for redeliberation. It became a disputed bill during the last session as the 2 houses could not come to an agreement on 2 clauses. The National Assembly conducted a plenary session on 16th May to set the agenda for the 7th session of the Parliament, which will commence from the 2nd of next month.
The National Council during the last session recommended that the ACC should have complete independence over its human resource. The House also recommended that the Commission should have the right to prosecute cases. But the National Assembly did not support these 2 recommendations. The other disputed bills include the Civil Society Organizations Amendment Bill and United Nations Convention Against Corruption Amendment. The 2 houses could not agree on the composition of the Civil Society Organization Authorities Board. The National Council recommended including the Secretary of the Home Ministry as the chairperson of authority. However, the National Assembly recommended that the Home Minister should be the chairperson. Regarding the United Nations Convention Against Corruption Amendment, the 2 houses did not agree on whether or not to revoke reservations on Article 66(2). The article states that any dispute between 2 or more countries that cannot be settled through negotiation within a reasonable time shall, at the request of one of those countries, be submitted for arbitration in an international court of justice. The National Council recommended to re-accede to the UNCAC with reservations on the article, but the National Assembly recommended to revoke the reservations. The 7th session will also see deliberations on 5 money bills. They include National Budget Appropriation Bill for the financial year 2022 to 2023, Supplementary Budget Appropriation Bill for the financial year 2021 to 2022, Fiscal Incentives Amendment Bill of Bhutan 2022, Goods and Services Tax Amendment Bill of Bhutan 2022, and Concession of Property Tax Bill of Bhutan 2022. The joint sitting of the Parliament will deliberate on report of the Public Accounts Committee's review report including Royal Audit Authority's Annual Report 2020 to 2021 and the Performance Audit Report. For Pema Sultan Sring, Samtendolkar, BBS News.
With the current fiscal year coming to an end by next month, more than half of the total apportioned capital budget remains underutilized. Capital expenditure is the money spent by the government on the development of physical assets. In Bhutan, the capital budget is met from grants and loans and balance of domestic revenue after meeting the recurrent budget.
The Parliament last year approved more than 35 billion itam for the recurrent expenditure and more than 38 billion itam for the capital expenditure for this financial year. However, the country has spent only about 18 billion itam of the capital expenditure as of April this year.
But this excludes the outstanding advances being paid by the budgetary agencies to the contractors and to the vendors, whoever delivers the services. So if you take into consideration the outstanding advances that's paid by the budgetary agencies, probably by now the budget utilization, the rate has to touch at least 70% in average across all sectors.
While the lockdown at the beginning of this year has had an impact on the government's ability to utilize the capital budget, the ministry said the budget utilization peaks when the fiscal year closing nears. The minister said a significant amount of the budget was spent on the education sector. Last year, when the national budget for the fiscal year 2021 to 2022 was presented to the Parliament, education and health under the social sector was allocated the highest budget, constituting 30% of the total budget.
We have spent a significant amount of significant budget into education sector, followed by road sector, and then we have the agriculture and forestry sector, and obviously health.
The underutilization of funds would have implications on the effective and optimal use of borrowed funds. The ministry is currently working on next financial year's budget allocation. The minister said the allocation is expected to remain at the same level or a little less as compared to the current fiscal year. Samtin Dolkar, BBS News.
The High Court upheld the Panbang Tungka Court's verdict convicting former Goshingap Sangil Leto of embezzling more than 4 million yutam. The court sentenced him to 8 years in prison and also ordered him to pay back the embezzled amount. He, however, appealed to the Supreme Court.
Sangil Leto is found guilty of inflating fuel procurement receipts. The fuel was procured during the construction of the Gewa Connectivity Road in 2011 and the farm road from Lamtang to Mewangang in 2012. As per the judgment, 6 employees working with Gilifu Fuel Depot have accepted to have colluded and inflated fuel price amount in the ACC statement in 2017. The case had already gone through the lower courts and reached the Supreme Court last year. The Supreme Court sent back the case to Panbang Dungkhak Court asking for a proper investigation of one of the charges. The Supreme Court ordered the Dungkhak Court to do a proper evaluation of the fuel-related embezzlement charges of the GUP. He was found guilty of 10 counts including embezzlement, solicitation, fraudulent claim and other official misconducts. The ACC investigated the case in 2016 following a complaint alleging the GUP of embezzling funds meant for the construction of a Gewa Connectivity Road in Shimgang. Giletim for BBS News.
The country's judicial system has often faced allegations of biased judgments and miscarriage of justice, which were made apparent on all forms of media. This, for the Supreme Court, is an unhealthy move, as the public could gradually thrive on unverified information, losing trust and faith in the judiciary. In view of this, the highest appellate court established a media and communication unit on 14th May.
In recent times, both mainstream and social media have been rife with posts that maligned the country's judiciary system and its employees. The press release from the Supreme Court underscored that media contents related to judiciary must be well-researched, honest and balanced. The unit headed by the Senior Court Registrar of the Supreme Court will ensure dissemination of credible and accurate information by the mainstream and the electronic media.
파 루미디 다주다 미스망기 꿰미기 삼차 디굴루 땡마처라기 레제 마데우 팀기든사 갈레트여서비나 야 종학 팀기든사 가틸레트여서비나 때 디수 델류기 고벤두수다 데어 베신다베 네술 니틱 미슬루 고비 미망루 카치우기 네술 니틱디딩아치기 아이데트날레 더 없으슈니라.
Besides, the Media and Communication Unit will assess any allegations against the judiciary and its employees. In cases where allegations are found to be true, the unit will facilitate the judicial body to take appropriate actions against the concerned employee. If the allegations are false, the unit will help the judiciary to take actions against any individual defaming the justice system. For Karmawangdi, this is Pemal Hardin, BBS News.
Following the recent stabbing and assault incident outside the Supreme Court, security is being tightened at the country's highest court of review. Some of the new measures are already in place, while some are under discussion. Meanwhile, people visiting the courthouse claim these sudden changes are inconvenient.
Several people visit the Supreme Court every day for various reasons. In the past, people had to get themselves registered, would sometimes be frisked and then be allowed to enter the court premises. Today, visitors are properly frisked and they are allowed to carry only the required paper documents. People cannot carry other personal belongings such as mobile phones and bags inside the courthouse. A visitor BBS talked to, who did not want to come on camera or be named, said this arrangement is difficult, especially for people who do not have cars. She said she requested a nearby shop and kept her things there, but had to run back and forth to make phone calls since she had forgotten to bring some documents. She shared that because of the restrictions, it took 2 days to complete her work, which would normally finish in a day. Visitors said it would be convenient if there were provisions such as lockers where people would keep their things. Another visitor who also did not want to be named said it has become difficult for legal service providers like him. He said it is inconvenient since he is not allowed to carry his phone, where he has also saved copies of all his documents. He added the Supreme Court also did not make any announcements of the recent changes which would have made the people aware.
It would be convenient for us if they could find a place to keep our goods. At the gate, the security personnel are not very warm or welcoming. As a legal service provider, I am required to represent clients at their hearings, and contacting them is extremely difficult. As a result, this new step is causing everyone inconvenience.
The Supreme Court's Registrar General said the recent changes have been made to make the court premises safer. For now, they have added additional security personnel and restricted people from carrying their personal belongings. He said they are also discussing additional measures that would be placed soon. They are also looking at providing small compartments in future where people can keep their things. For Pema Selden's hearing, Kyalzam Chodin, PBS News.
The opposition party is recommending the government revisit the existing rules concerning Class 10 and 12 repeaters. In the party's press release, the party said the policy, which was implemented in 2014, is almost a decade old and needs a review. As per the policy, classes 10 and 12 failed students are allowed to repeat the grades only if they fulfill 4 criteria.
The 4 criteria set by the Education Ministry are that the students should secure 90% attendance in the previous academic session except on medical grounds, not have adverse records in school, and not have repeated grade 9 and 11, and should repeat in the same government school. However, the Education Ministry again issued a notification last month with regard to classes 10 and 12 repeaters in the government schools. The criteria remained the same except that repeaters have an option to change schools. This, as per the opposition leader, is causing a lot of hindrances. The criteria are very restrictive. The party suggests the government allow classes 10 and 12 failed students to repeat in government schools without conditions.
There has been these problems, but not much problem because of class 11 students, having had the opportunity to study in the private and government schools both so far. But since this year, government has changed the policy that all class 10 pass students will have to study in government schools. Because of change in the government's policy, there seems to be extra pressure on schools of adjusting their children.
Following the Education Ministry's notification last month, the Prime Minister's office also said that the office has asked the Education Ministry's team to revisit the existing rules on repeating classes. The office said it should be designed in ways for students to study as many times as possible in the same class and progress qualitatively. The news release also stated that the existing rules deny grade 12 repeaters the opportunity to apply for government-sponsored scholarships abroad. The party recommended the government change this rule and make all Class 12 repeaters eligible for such scholarships. Samtin Dolkar, BBS News.
The recently deployed Bhutan Emergency Aeromedical Retrieval or BARE services and the newly launched base of the Royal Bhutan Helicopter Services in Pumtha have already started benefiting the people in the central and eastern parts of the country. The teams have airlifted 4 patients to referral hospitals in less than a week after the services were made available. They were launched upon His Majesty the King's command to expand aeromedical services in the country.
A 2-month-old infant in Samdrup Jonkar was airlifted to Mongar Regional Referral Hospital as the team's first medevac mission. Since then, 2 women from Mongar with post-delivery complications were flown to Thimphu. Likewise, a man from Gasa was also evacuated to the capital. Currently, the BARE team in Bumthang has 3 nurses and a doctor stationed at Wangdecholing Hospital. They were trained for a week in Bumthang along with 5 other medical personnel from Gelifu Hospital. The BARE services cater to life-threatening emergencies across the country.
Kadimchi ba hanzum shapto gomire yebajin ngachi gi ni 112 lama ngachi help centers labe 112 ngachi call hejimle 112 ge be ngachi emergency physicians labe ngachi gi tungso khichoyeba analo call tungso khichogi ya shapto de ngeti koni memes labchi namdudi ngachi gi anega chulo sakona shapto jinchojo yebajin kade jojo ngachi gi ma hepe jodo sanibishunil.
The services are mainly targeted at providing air ambulance needs in the eastern and central regions during the pandemic, as bad weather often obstruct flights while operating from Baro. The helicopter base was launched in Bumthang due to the availability of helicopter fuel and air terminal facilities at Bumthang Domestic Airport. Meanwhile, the new helicopter base has also operated a dozen commercial scenic flights in Bumthang.
Our main goal is to provide timely medical retrieval flights during emergencies, but we have also rolled out scenic flight packages to give an opportunity for the interested people to have an experience of a helicopter flight.
The office is also planning to launch chartered flight services to Takila, Ajane and Durtsachu. Commercial flights are mainly for the company's financial sustenance. Meanwhile, more than 800 medical evacuations were carried out across the country since 2016. A study conducted by senior BARE officials in 2019 found over 73% survival rate amongst evacuated patients. For Kipchu in Bumthang, Samtin Dolkar, BBS News.
Livestock predation by the wild predators, especially tigers, has been a pressing issue in Tonsa since ages. Human-wildlife conflict has caused significant economic losses to the farmers, but there is good news for them. The Bhutan Tiger Center under the Agriculture Ministry will initiate community-based livestock insurance scheme on a pilot basis from next month.
The pilot livestock insurance scheme will provide monetary reimbursement to the livestock farmers of Korfu, Nubi, Tasibji, and Langtal Gyoks in Trongsa, Chumi Gyok in Bumthang, and Nangkhor Gyok in Chemgang. The Gyok Tiger Conservation Association, chaired by a cub in each of these 6 gyoks, will facilitate the affected farmers to get the compensation. However, they need to insure their livestock with the association, which will collect appropriate data to verify their claims. The association's other responsibilities include management of the insured funds. It will be assisted by the Quick Response Team comprising Forest Range Officer, Gyok Livestock Extension Officer, and Chiok Tsokpa. To apply for the livestock insurance scheme, farmers are required to follow the standard reporting system through a mobile app. In Trongsa, Nubi Gyok faces the highest tiger predation on cattle. Sometimes it loses 3 to 4 cattle to tigers in a day. More than 200 cattle owners have registered with the Gyeok Tiger Conservation Association so far.
Heman tu so ya kanye thomni mindola nubi gyo kimsi chula de khona to da dan de ba chin te nga china lu gyo na lu bi jin de ba chin te nga chi da go chu ni insi shudola.
The Gyeok official said there are no ceilings on the premium amount.
당인질 benigi taga 해도 미세랑 소소 로데다 티디 또 코나기 로데 가디베 입지 대 한친 뚜르 니제 뚜니나 노레르기 뚜르 숨자 뚜니나 납자 뚜니나 디디수 년치기 티츠미기 디데 티디기베 톱라메 디디기 제3선이디에 또 코나 미세기 로데다 티디기베 디데베선이베 지기데베 칼라베 가나 예시슈니베일라.
The livestock insurance scheme is strictly entitled for cattle attacked by the tigers.
Rodatugi mangil di nga chi semchi tagi den lo cham chi imbe wala khongi maple ani semchi tagi den le benedigi te nga chi ani phau gi zazolo delen ani si gi samiti su dinam mipe da semchi tagi ra ani nyukin jumba chin cham chi phini be shaila.
The Gyeok Tiger Conservation Associations in the 6 Gyeoks will receive seed money of 1 million Newton each. It will be funded by the UNDP and Vanishing Treasures project under United Nations Environment Programs. However, for the sustainability of the fund, only 25% of the money would be allowed to compensate. If this pilot scheme makes difference in the lives of the affected livestock farmers, the Bhutan Tiger Center will inject additional insurance fund to the association. Pasa, PBS News, Trongsa.
And that is all we have for you this week. I'm Chonizuk Selden. Thank you for watching. Take care and goodbye.